What's up, guys? Barry Game here, back with some more Idle Heroes, and today we're going to be talking about who do you actually build on your account. Do you still go for the Mystic Fairy Freya build, especially if you have Fairy Queen Vesa, or do you build the new Phantom Defier Elena? Because they both fit a very similar niche on your team and your account. I do think she is probably around the same time you would build your Mystic Fairy Freya. Like it's a very close call, and I really think it comes down to your overall account composition. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about the positives of Mystic Fairy Freya, the positive of Phantom Defier Elena, and honestly when you should build each of them. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let's jump right into it. So let's talk about these two heroes because they do fit similar niches. They have some support for your team. They give the ability to dodge, but it really depends on who else is on your account. A lot of people build Mystic Fairy Freya as like their third Transcendent, somewhere in that ballpark. If you're already going the Fairy Queen Vesa route, things like that, a lot of people will pick this hero to kind of build. Now there is one giant advantage Mystic Fairy Freya has over Phantom Defier Elena, and that is the fact that her layers here at the end of each round increases the damage dealt by self to poison target. So that by itself is pretty cool. But if you're going the route of sublimations, this part becomes absolutely game breaking when we're talking about boss type battles. So that's Flame Shrine, Broken Spaces, Star Expedition bosses. It's very, very huge getting this effect on your main damage dealers. It's essentially getting 33% of it, and that is, you know, it's an increased amount of damage you're getting. So yeah, it's pretty important, honestly, because that becomes a huge amount of damage. That's why you see, like, even in the old days, we went from our Fairy Queen Vesa doing like 15 billion or trillion, 15 trillion against the bosses, upping it to like 45 trillion. A huge difference. So if you're, first off, if your thought is, I want to do Star Expedition bosses, I want to do boss damage, I want to do that as my best thing on my account, I would say automatically Mystic Fairy Freya, as it stands right now, is the better option. Her sublimations can be really cool. Honestly, her like second two branches are really amazing. The one that's also cool for her sublimation is when an ally releases basic or active skills, grants them shield equal to 200% of Mystic Fairy Freya's attack. That adds up really quickly, and that means you can just have your entire team solid with shields in a lot of game modes. Now, there is an advantage, and typically you build Mystic Fairy Freya a little bit earlier on your account, in my opinion, than you would Phantom Defier Elena. One thing we do need to take a look at here is when we come in here, you're not going to be making her a householder. That's not something you're going to be doing. But what you are going to be doing is making her a tenant. And guess who she is a tenant for? Well, none other than Fairy Queen Vesa. Fairy Queen Vesa is a really good one once you transition away from your Eloise to become one of your main damage dealers here. She has some pretty decent supports. I mean, the first slot, that kind of sucks, but you got like Ranger over here. You got a Ranger over here, essentially. You got a Ranger over here or a Warrior. There's a lot of good ways to build her. And honestly, if you are doing a Fairy Queen, like an early Fairy Queen Vesa, I would say for the sake of doing Sealand progression, you're probably better off going the route of the Mystic Fairy Freya. But there is a huge advantage of going for the new girl here, Phantom Defier Elena, because, well, number one, she's actually a tenant for a lot of heroes. We'll go take a look over here again. If you guys never knew, you can actually just click on the hero like here and it tells you who they're a tenant for. She's both a tenant for Starwing Jara and Lord of Fear Aspen, two heroes that are like the god tier right now, especially when you pair them together for things like early Void campaign. So many different game modes. Their combinations of CCs really make it hard to have the enemy team actually participate in the battle. You can completely lock them down. And like I said, Jara, if you're going to have Jara be your first main damage dealer and hard carry you through like the first chapter or two of Void campaign, you're probably going to want to build her because she's going to give the best stats for the 4th slot. You might already have an Eloise anyway. Tix is an awesome one here too, and then you can build like a regular Jara, or Ithqua is not great, but Ithqua is actually useful compared to a regular Jara on your account. So those are the options there, and this is where Phantom Defier Elena, I think, really starts to shine, because she also has synergies with Lord of Fear Aspen, because of course she has the chance to inflict Fear Abyssal Gaze as well. Getting that locked on as many people as possible in a combat is absolutely amazing. She also just has a lot of really cool things that can help your team out. Of course, making the highest attack, or rather giving the Mystic Veil to everybody who doesn't have a lair, or it has the least amount of layers, will kind of spread that around, which is cool. Her passive skill here is absolutely bonkers, as we've seen. When an enemy releases active skills, reduces their speed by 5 for 2 rounds. That's just like a little bit. Removes 1 control effect from 1 random ally. That's huge. And then increases all control immunity by 10%. This, of course, goes up when they get to V2, and then also when they get the tree beyond that. And then, yeah, her tricks can be really, really cool. She has shielding, she has healing, she has buffs to crit damage for your main damage dealer. Lots of really cool stuff. And then her active skill, again, it just has so many different parts of it. You're reducing energy, your chance to inflict that fear effect, same as Lord of Fear Aspen. And if you're going for that more dark account, or you're going for a very early Starwing Jara as your hard carry, and you're not going the traditional Eloise, Fairy Queen Vesa style route, I think Phantom Defier Elena is a better pick, but I would probably wait until maybe around the 4th to 6th Transcendence hero to build her, because she's not going to be as impactful potentially. But the one cool thing is you don't really need to sublime her that much. Well, like, the one thing that I do really like is additionally removes 1 random control effect from 1 ally. Like, this doubles up and makes it 2 of them whenever an enemy releases an active. That really makes it so your team is kind of unCCable. Allies getting damage reduction. I really like this one the best. The third one just feels so good. Her basic attack, it's okay. It's nothing great. And then her active skill is, again, not that great, but it additionally grants shadow healing for 2 rounds after granting Mystic Veil. So basically that is going to be a heal whenever they dodge as well. I don't know how it triggers. If it triggers after the dodge, I guess it really doesn't matter if it's before or after. I guess if you're already low and you have those shields up and then you do dodge something, then it can be good. But one thing to note, she isn't exactly like a super fast Transcendence hero. She's definitely slower than a lot of them out there. If you are going for an early Mockman, that's a cool strategy too, because she'll help you out with your Sealand. But I do think the fact that she is a tenant for Jara really shoots her value up, because that's going to give you that survivability you need. And again, probably around the 4th to 6th Transcendence hero mark, in my opinion. But again, you don't need to go for her sublimations. Getting like the active skill, if you did, I'd get like the first node here, because this ups it to a 3 layers of Mystic Veil automatically, which is just like really, really cool. It gives it to backline. Deception, it gives it a chance to give it to the front line. That's really awesome. I do like this node, but I really like the black and white. So I'd go like the 1st and 3rd branches. As far as building her, probably just like a speed HP stone. I would not worry about attack on this hero. I'd want to make sure she can survive as much as possible with something like a crown. And yeah, you kind of build her very similarly as you would a Mystic Fairy Freya, but it just depends on what your account already has existing, and that's kind of the guide to tell you whether you should build one or the other. So hopefully this gives you guys a little bit insight on which one of these two to build, because they fill a very similar role, but they are different and better in different game modes. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. I'll see you guys next time.